And we are live. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us for this latest episode of Daring Live. It's a pleasure to be here. It is not as hot as it was in San Diego last week, but it is still warm. And so we will see how this goes. But everything is good. I hope everybody is safe at home and getting through the madness in the world. But today we hope to shed some light on that and kind of bring in some happiness and some joy for everybody's afternoon and evenings. But before we get to that, just a very quick reminder to everybody, we are about 6 or 7 episodes into Daring Live. So firstly, thank you very much for everybody who's tuned in. It's been a real pleasure. We've got lots of very cool guests coming up down the line, which we'll be announcing soon. You can go to the YouTube channel, Daring YouTube channel, and they're all up there. You can see Tony Trischka, you can see Jens Kruger, David Holt, Mark Johnson. There's a dialogue about fingerpicks. And if you didn't tune in a couple of weeks ago, there was also a very in-depth discussion about Banjo strings after we announced our move to GHS. So just a reminder to everybody, we do have them. They are in stock. You can go get them at daringbanjos.com. But it's a really in-depth conversation with Jens Kruger and also with John Moody from GHS Strings. So really getting into the nitty-gritty of the science behind the strings and why we went that direction. So enjoy those and the rest of the episodes. But this week, we are honored to be joined by the wonderful singer-songwriter, multi-instrumentalist, Miss Valerie June. And she joins us today, hailing from Jackson, Tennessee, I believe, Valerie, is that right? You can unmute.
It's indeed correct.
But you're in Brooklyn right now, right?
Yes, I'm in Brooklyn right now.
Okay, awesome. Valerie once described her own music as organic moonshine roots music. Is that true?
I once did. Now I just say singer-songwriter music. I needed a name when I was in the South playing at all, busking at these festivals, because people would come up and they'd be like, "What kind of music is that?" So I just I'm just gonna make something up because I really don't want to be boxed in. I want to do what I want to do.
Love it. Absolutely love it. She is quite possibly one of the happiest and most joyful people that we've ever met. And it's really a pleasure to welcome her to Daring Live, Miss Valerie June.
Thank
you. Good
you.
afternoon. And then with us, as always, is the Robin to buy my Batman here, Mr. Dave Bandrasky. What's going on?
Hey, how you doing? Good to be here.
All right. Valerie, would you mind opening up with a little tune?
All right, I'll play you a song. It's called Man Done Wrong. Man done wrong and I don't care. Man done wrong and I don't care. Gone and wrong round everywhere. Gone and wrong round everywhere. Shadows dancing at my door, shadows dancing at my door. I can't fight them anymore, I can't fight them anymore. Neighbor, listen to that wall, neighbor, listen to that wall. No, that neighbor heard it all, no, that neighbor heard it all.
All right, that's terrific.
That's a little,
I was watching your banjo style there. You're playing with your thumb and your index finger?
Yeah, really this. And then sometimes the middle finger will come in on songs. And then sometimes I'll just, like, I guess do this. But, and then sometimes I'll pick It just depends on the song, but
Right, right.
whatever the songs want to do. Sometimes just one string and a thumb.
Whatever works. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really good. So how early were you when you began kind of singing? You started your career as a singer, correct?
I was singing, yes, when I was a very young girl, I guess, just bellowing around the house. And I didn't start doing it professionally until I moved to Memphis, and that was when I was about 18. And
Hmm.
what did I do? I started singing at open mics and coffee houses all around. And then I got in a band and did all of that. And
Yeah.
then I only sang. So when the band broke up, I had to learn how to play an instrument because I didn't want to like not be able to perform.
Right.
So my grandfather had given me a guitar, so I started teaching myself some chords. And I guess I was in my 20s, early 20s, when I started playing my first instrument. And then I had a boyfriend who gave me a banjo, the Deering Good Time banjo that I was telling you about. He gave
Uh-huh.
me that banjo. And I was like, oh, well, I guess I might as well learn some songs on that. So I started to teach myself some stuff on that. And then my best friend, she gave me this little baby, and
Oh yeah.
I started to teach myself some stuff on that. So really, like, if a person gives me an instrument, then I just kind of noodle around and teach myself some stuff, chords and like different little things
Right.
that fit my voice, and that's what I end up doing. I don't really like learn to play as exactly you're meant to play, I guess. I just play to my voice because I feel like I started too late in life for that. I'm like, I was, I guess, 26, 27 when I started playing banjo, and the baby came into my life when I was about 29. It's
Right.
hard to remember, but that was yesterday.
Well, that's part of I think maybe why you have such a such an original sound and sound like yourself so much, which is hard for a lot of artists to do. Is a lot of artists, a lot of people can end up just kind of playing things that trying to sound like somebody else all the time, aiming for that. But it sounds like you made the instrument work for your songs.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
makes it difficult when you're trying to learn someone else's song, though. That is the hardest thing for me to do in the world. So,
Uh-huh.
so that's always really difficult. But with songs of my own, yeah, that's pretty much fun, and I let it be fun. I'm
Right.
like, oh, ah, just let it be what it is as far as that. But I do think that at some point in my life, I want to like spend more time actually learning other songs, covers, and things of that sort. Which quarantine time's been really good for that.
Right.
Not doing 100 something shows a year. Like I'm home, I can learn some stuff and listen to. I listen to a lot, but as far as like actually sitting and having the time to play something new, when you're on the road, you play a lot of your same songs night after night.
Right, right, right. And about how old were you when you started writing your own songs?
Um, well, I believe that when I was really, really young, I started writing songs. My brothers and sisters, we all like to sing and like make up melodies and songs
Mm-hmm.
around the house. So it just kind of came with growing up in a family with 5 kids. Um, and then the songs that I wrote by myself would be things about frogs and rainbows and mud and I grew up out in the country, so I just wrote about what was around.
Right.
And crawdads, we pick them up and stuff like that. But then what else? Like when I got to be 18 and when I moved to Memphis, I love art and I'm very creative in the way of visual art. And I thought about going to college for art at Memphis College of Art. But then I had a roommate who was going and I said, you know what? I don't want to go to Memphis College of Art because I can, it's going to cost me way too much money for what I want to do, which is be
Mm-hmm.
a broke ass artist.
Right.
And so I'd rather not have the debt, honestly. So I said, well, let me just start to pick up some jobs, and I picked up some jobs at coffee shops, and I was surrounded by artists, by musicians, by poets, by filmmakers. Like one
Hmm.
of the guys would come every day I served coffee to, Craig Brewer. He wrote like an Oscar award winning film. Most recently, like a film with Eddie Murphy, and I can't remember Sweetback's. I can't remember the full name of the one, the latest one, but it's amazing. The latest one with Eddie, and we just look back at that time and we're like, oh my God, we were just a bunch of Memphians running around saying, one day I'm going to be a musician, one day I'm going to be
Right.
a filmmaker.
Right.
And that's just been years and years now. You know, it's been about almost 2 decades. So it's interesting to look at all the other artists and see that we decided to make this dream of being
Right.
artists our life. You
It
know,
sounds like you're at Memphis at kind of a special time when there's a lot of, creative energy going on.
it is, and you know, it's such a sleepy town in so many ways because
Uh-huh.
there's all this going on creatively with the artists, but it's not like on the national world stage really. So it's a great place to just kind of get up there and try your stuff out and let them nurture you and fall flat on your face and they'll say you can do it, keep
Right.
going, you can do it. Versus I feel like if I would have went to Nashville, because
Right.
Jackson's between the two,
Mm-hmm.
and I had the choice, do I want to go to Nashville or do I want to go to Memphis? If I would have gone to Nashville to start trying to teach myself butchering these instruments in front of a crowd, then I probably would have been discouraged pretty quick because most players there are like so sharp that I just would have felt like, oh, I'm
Right.
never gonna get there. But I had the goal in mind of people like Elizabeth Cotton or Mississippi John Hurt who were like really way older by the time they
Right.
were successful.
Right.
Or known to be successful in the world's eye.
Right.
I feel like
Right.
they were successful. I mean, Elizabeth wrote that song when she was 9. That's huge
But
success.
when
Great
when they
brain.
got the big popularity, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so I was like, I don't really have any hurry for what I'm trying to do. And it's
Right.
all just kind of happened so, it's all kept me in shock, you know, the fact
Mm-hmm.
that I can do this versus what I did before, being a barista. Um, what else? There was working at the herb shop, Maggie's Farm, cleaning houses. You know, I
Yeah.
had about 3 or 4 jobs, and some of them all in one day. And then I'd get off
Right.
and
Right.
play music too. So, yeah, it was a lot of stuff.
Yeah, it's nice being in a community like that. I'm in New Orleans, and it's kind of a similar thing where it's a creative space and not very, as cutthroat as a place like Nashville or New York or LA would be.
Yeah, like I don't really like I live in New York and I feel like we have a very small circle of musicians that I know here that I've been
Hmm.
playing with on the road for the last record cycle, and that feels like family. But outside of that, I don't really know like much about the scenes
Right.
because I feel like that's something I'd want to do with my life. Like if I weren't on the road so much, is go and see more shows and get
Hmm.
involved in other circles because there's so many circles here and
Right.
so
Right.
many musicians. It's like huge. So I think that I'd want to get out of my comfort zone as far as
Hmm.
what I know and the people I know in music and explore some of the other types of music that I love. Like there's always stuff going on at Lincoln Center and I've been to one show that was Anushka Shankar and that
Uh-huh.
was great. But I'd like to do more stuff like that and it's available here versus when you're living somewhere like Memphis. In New Orleans, y'all get a lot of stuff, but we don't always get everything there. So
Right. Right.
that'd be neat to do. And as far as cutthroat business stuff, I don't really, you know, Memphis has its own kind of like, you know, insular scene as far as music. So
Yeah.
you just
Yeah.
kind of find a place and get on stage and make it happen and hope people come to the show. So
Hmm.
I think that's different than the other cities you name like New York or LA or Nashville.
Hmm. Definitely.
you if you know people, you probably get gigs easier there.
Right.
At least I feel like here I know people and I get gigs easier than when I first came here. When I first came, I got pretty lucky though. I played over at Terra Blues because a lady named LaFrey Ski, she invited me to see one of her shows, and this guy Junior Mack was the one she was playing drums for, and she told him I was from Memphis and that I played music, and he said, we got a girl from Memphis here today and she's gonna get up and do a song. And I didn't want to, so I was like, and he said, she's sitting right there, and he called my ass out, and and I had to get up there and sing. And the owner was there, and he heard my song, and he was like, how would you like to do a residency here? And that ended up being how I made a living for 3 years in New York, is doing that
Wow.
residency at Terra Blues. So I kind of got lucky with that, but I don't know. I played in the subway and different places like that, and I just made do with being pretty broke. And I also went back and forth a lot to Memphis, Mississippi, um, Arkansas, all the areas where I had
Right.
been making a living for the years before I moved here. I was back and forth. So that's pretty much been my life for the last decade. As I would come, I spend maybe, I guess, enough time to wash clothes, and then I'm on the road and back to Tennessee, visiting and playing a show, or to wherever in the world playing a show.
Mm-hmm.
It's fun stuff.
Is there any particular place where you've had the luxury of traveling around a little bit for music? I imagine. Any particular place that really captured your heart when you were out on the road and touring around and that kind of thing?
Oh, wow, heart.
It's a big one.
Yeah, it's big
It's a
because
deep question. It's early on deep question. Sorry.
there's so many great places. And when you're not going as fast as I was going for so many years, like you you have to figure out how to find heart in motion. So, because you don't always see the places, you see the venue, but it goes so fast.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so, the place that I really, really love, and I love, like imagining that I'll get to go back, I've been twice. It's in Lyon, and it's this place, they have this event called Fourviere, and it's like an amphitheater that's before Christ. It seems it was built, and you're looking out over the entire city, and there's like these stone stairs. It reminds me a lot of Greek theater, or
Mm-hmm.
like we'd have Red Rocks, which would be something similar to it. The way that it feels and how beautiful it is, it's just breathtaking. So I love playing there. There's like grapes growing all around. So you're walking through, and I like wine, so there's wine country around. I like lavender, so there's Provence lavender fields everywhere. I love things like that. So
Wow.
that's been a really, really fun place. But I mean, there have been so many fun ones. Like Japan was amazing, Hawaii, and Australia was pretty amazing, but it's such a trek to get there that I'm usually pretty tired when I'm there. So
Mm-hmm.
next time I go, I'm just gonna be like, I need a month.
Take a month off after the shows, right?
Yeah, just hang out and get an Airbnb for the month and just live there for a month because it's too far to go otherwise. But yeah, I mean, there's always more to do too. Like it'd be fun to go to South America and perform, and South Africa would be fun. And I've been to Africa before, but I haven't performed there, so that would be really fun.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool.
Dreams. We must have dreams.
Yeah.
We must always have dreams. That's right. Go ahead, David. Sorry.
Yeah. So we've got a lot of beginners that are just playing the banjo and struggling to find their voice. Um, what would you kind of recommend for them to try to for finding their own voice on the instrument?
Hmm. Finding your own voice. Well, if you sing, that'll make it a little easier because you can kind of like hum and pick out what you would be
Mm-hmm.
singing. Like with Mandan wrong, it came first as a voice, like. And that just happened for days and days and days in
Right.
my head.
Yeah.
And then I was like, what instrument should I play that melody on? And so, like, of course, it took me forever to sit with it. I said, okay, I'm going to try it on the banjo. And I said, okay, I'll just sit with the banjo and I'll try to go. Mm, 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 mm,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll just try to find the notes.
Right.
And then I got a little faster and just on and on and on and on and on and on.
Right. Yeah.
And then, when you start to hear a voice, you hear a lot of different voices. You hear variations of it. So it'll be, and so you might have to call other musicians to play with you because you can't do them all. Unless you're Billy Strings. And then you can.
Or you have a loop pedal.
Yeah, if you have a loop pedal, you can do them all too. Um, so that's pretty much one way to do it. Another way is just, I think being really like playing super slowly is a good important part
Mm-hmm.
of it. And if you have like some family or someone who will kind of listen to a song here and there
Mm-hmm.
just for your bravery.
Right. Right.
Play just anything, even if you're like still with the training wheels on and you're like making mistakes, just play it in front of them because it's neat to play it in front of a person and
Right.
feel what the song feels like to someone else, even if it's a folk song you're learning or whatever, because it makes you, I think that helps you. I don't know why, but
Yeah.
just having another, like knowing someone else is listening makes you play differently than you
Well,
play when you play alone.
it makes you take it a little more seriously too, and as opposed to just kind of picking it up and kind of stopping mid song and stuff like that.
That's true. And also, like, having the attitude that everybody in the world that, you know, has some hands should play an instrument. It's good for the soul, it's good for the heart. Don't think only that, people who are playing like Hendrix or
Mm-hmm.
are the ones who can play. No, everybody needs to be able to play something, like one song on something, just for
Right.
you, like, because you need to. And once you get that feeling, then you're like, okay. Um, I think it, like, music kind of keeps your heart open and it keeps
Uh-huh.
you young. And so if you can learn to play a song or sing, even singing can be that thing,
Mm-hmm.
then you can keep a part of your spirit open that would probably close with age because there's so much going on in the world that
Right.
you get so heavy hearted. And so, like, knowing the reason why you play is important. Like, do you play because you like want to be the absolute most awarded superstar in the world, or do you play because it like rejuvenates your soul?
Get
Right.
a deep sense of satisfaction, right? When you play,
Yeah.
even just playing something in your bedroom. We have a lot of customers who they know right up front that that's all they want to do. They just want that pleasure of being able to play a few songs, and then particularly now, now we were going to ask, it's been a pretty rough year for a lot of people. And just speaking to customers on a daily basis, like it seems like a lot of people right now are turning to music, specifically learning stuff maybe they haven't had time to do. Um, how has that played into your life? I mean, you mentioned earlier you're listening to a lot of music, a little different music, but how important do you think that is for people particularly in times where it's been just the craziest of years, at least that we can remember.
In our lifetime, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This
Yeah.
is the craziest year. Um, well, it's been I'm so grateful that I have music. I've been mentoring this woman named Tiana Esperanza. She's 20 and she's such a brilliant musician. And I mean, she plays a lot of instruments. and and she was just talking about how powerful music is and how it rejuvenates her spirit. And that's really where I got what I just said from, was from our conversation. I guess it was yesterday or the day before, where we were both like, yeah, we feel like we've been given a gift to be able to sit at home and play an instrument. And so a lot of people will have instruments and they'll collect dust. Like the baby, when my best friend gave her to me, this instrument, I was like, thanks. It's a toy. And I was just like, that's nothing. I'm never going to do anything with that, is what I thought in the back of my head. All the while, I was like, oh, what a nice gift. And she was like, well, all right. I thought it'd be nice because you like instruments and you're always carrying so much stuff. And I feel like it'll be little and easier for you to get on the plane. And so it was a very sweet thought. She even got my name kind of like carved on the top. But I let the baby like sit in a corner collecting all of this dust. I mean, the dust was so thick. And then I tell a story, it's kind of like a children's story, where me and the mama and my instrument, Big Red, which is an electric guitar, we go to festivals all over the world. And we'd come in and we'd just be like, woo, it was so great. And the baby would hear us and she'd be crying in the corner with all the dust all over her. And one day I was just trying to get some sleep and she was crying so loud that I couldn't take it. And so I had to go over and go, and there was so much dust, it was choking me. And I dusted her off and I said, well, what the hell's your problem? And she said, well, I want to sing. And I was like, well, what can you sing? You're just a toy. And she said, well, I got a song and I can sing as good as Aretha or anybody else. Beyonce and all of them. And I was like, okay, well, if you can, then I'll give you a try on the road. And sure enough, the baby is well remembered all around the world wherever I play.
We have already had at least 3 or 4 requests in the chat here of, can you do something with the baby?
Yeah, I can do something with it.
So maybe that's a beautiful segue in. Would you mind?
And she also, whenever she's started to sing, I mean, it really makes me feel happy because she sings a song for those who are lonely, and so many of us that have to stay at home and away from everybody, longing for the world, feel lonely. And so her song goes, well, if you're tired and you're feeling so lonely, you wake up at night thinking that only if you had somebody, will I be somebody, somebody to love. Did they tell you there were plenty of fish in the sea, but you're out in the cold and you're feeling empty? Or you're looking for somebody, will I be somebody, somebody to love? Will I be somebody, I'll be somebody, I'll be somebody. Will I be somebody, I'll be somebody, I'll be somebody. Will I be somebody, I'll be somebody, I'll be somebody, somebody. darkness of night, and battered and broken, 'cause you know it ain't right, 'cause you ain't got nobody. Well, I'll be somebody, you're somebody to love. Well, I'll be somebody, I'll be somebody, I'll be somebody when you're tired. And I'll be somebody, I'll be somebody, I'll be somebody when you're weary. Well, I'll be somebody, I'll be somebody, I'll be somebody, somebody to love. And then,
Oh yeah.
Fabulous. Absolutely awesome. What the thing I notice about you is when you play, like you can't help, you're smiling. Like you're grinning from ear to ear, like almost the whole time. It's really cool.
well, that's something that happened in the last, I guess, 2 years. Because really, like all the other time I played, I didn't smile. It just happens all of a sudden in my life that I smile a lot now when I play. I don't know why. It's just like a breakthrough because
Just
usually I'm
you,
so focused on trying to sing a song.
Right.
And I was like, yeah, I can do it. Well, if you do have an instrument at home and you're just like, I really want to play that one day, don't let that day not be today. Go over and blow the dust off of it and just play with it. Just have fun with it. They call it playing music for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
You have all this pressure about it.
Right.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. That was beautiful. I'm curious, Dave. I'll let you get back to the questions in a second. I'm curious. Your songs, sometimes they're just you and an instrument. Other times, like I was listening to The Order of Time a week or two ago, and there's a lot of band in there. By the way, whoever is playing bass on that is amazing. Groove,
They
love it.
just said that your bass playing's amazing on the
Oh.
order of time. I mean,
There you
play
go.
bass.
Love it. I love it. How does that transpire? Because I'm assuming like a lot of the songs that you write, they start in your head kind of in the same way that you were doing the banjo earlier, and then they kind of evolve. Can you describe the process a little bit to how it ends up being like a multi-instrumental band piece?
Well, Matt and I, we just started playing music around the house together. Like, really, what happened is every time I was playing a song, Matt would come in with a guitar or a bass or some instrument, and he would start playing with me. And so finally, I was just like, this sounds really good. So, would you like to produce a record of mine? And we'll just make some music and just see what happens. And he said yes, and we spent, I guess, maybe 2 seasons in the studio in Vermont and also in New York and some in Tennessee with musicians that he chose, that he loves to play with. And we just really got in the room. I started playing the song, and then musicians would just play. Like, if I hear an instrument on something, then I'll ask, hey, can you play Rhodes or something warm, or no, that instrument doesn't work. And then he's like super great at directing and telling people, okay, let's try it one more time, or and just really a lot of it was live and just moments, like photographs that are taken, but sound photographs that you're able to hear. And then we go back and I would lay down overdubs, or he would overdub a guitar solo. He did the beautiful solo on Long Lonely Road.
Yeah, that's a great song.
And a solo on With You that I love. Because I wrote that song after I met him. So that's kind of a love song in a lot of ways.
That's beautiful. So
I love the fact that people use it at their weddings.
do you get a lot of people telling you about that?
Yeah, they sent me stuff.
Oh,
There's
that's
this
awesome.
beautiful Indian wedding that I was sent a video of, and then these two beautiful women were married, and they sent me a video. I don't know all the people who use it, but they send the videos, and I'm like, oh, I love that. It makes me cry.
But it's a process. So you're involving different people and maybe giving them an element of creative freedom to kind of try different things. And at some point, I guess it just fits. And that's the snapshot, right? That's the picture that goes off to say that's how it should sound, you know?
Really, that is what usually happens. When I worked with Dan Arbach, it was the same way where Kevin, Agunis, and him, they chose like Eric Deaton, Jimbo Mathis, and who else was another musician that we had? Richard Swift. Oh, I love Richard. And we just all went in the room and started playing songs, and then that was what happened, like whatever the snapshot was. And then later you go back and you add overdubs if you feel like you need them, like the
Sure.
strings weren't live, and the
Mhm.
what else wasn't live, the horns, things like that. So I can hum out a part, like Doug came. Doug is our upstairs neighbor, and he came down one day and he's like, so I want to sit with y'all and kind of talk about what I will write for the, arrange for the horn players. And, if I hear anything, I'll hum it. Or, Matt will say, well, I feel like this needs to be a berry instead of a trumpet, or whatever. So he's really like the one who can choose an instrument, because I'll always choose trumpet. But because he plays so many instruments, he'll say, I know exactly the instrument that needs to have, that has the voice that you're looking for that sound,
Uh-huh.
and so choose that instrument. So I learned a lot from him about that, and a lot from Dan and Kevin when I worked with them. And I guess, every time I work with someone, I learn a little bit more about how to get the whole sound that goes up to making a record,
Right.
how to make a record, how to produce and stuff like that. That's what that is, production.
Exactly.
How
It's
did the Dan Auerbach situation come about? How did you end up working with Dan?
I met Kevin, and Kevin asked me who I'd like to work with, and I told him a list of folks, and Dan was on the list, and he had just worked with Dan on some stuff, and so he introduced us, and we wrote at John Prine's studio in
Wow.
Nashville. We wrote our Tennessee Time, and that was really fun to work on that song, Tennessee Time. And then when we were in the studio, that's when some of the other songs came. But then other songs I'd had before I met him, like Working Woman and what else? Shotgun and Twined and Twisted and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
those came in before, and they got recorded with in the same year or two, because it usually
Mhm.
takes me about, I guess it takes about 3 or 4 years for me to have a record ready.
Mhm.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
Are
Then I
you a
will
perfectionist?
have, and
No.
then I will have recorded I'll write the songs like a decade, or at this point, because I'm getting older, 2 decades ago. um, I'm getting a lot of time under my belt. And so then, like, so the songs would be old to me and new to everyone else, like
Right.
new to the producer, new to the musicians who've been chosen, and new to the world when we let it out, and old to the producer and old to the musician.
Right. Right.
so, so you can imagine, after I get finished touring with the songs, that they're very old to me at that point. They're like grandparents.
Right.
And
That's
so that's kind of how all of those events came together. But I look at it like I said, with the musicians I most admire, they'd be like 80s and 90s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. So it's just a life's work, you know?
Mhm. And how was it co-writing some songs with people? What was that process like?
Fun.
Yeah.
I usually enjoy writing more than performing and recording. Ooh, recording is probably the scariest part of what I have done.
Mm-hmm.
But like I love that creative part because of writing because it's just like nothing's formed. It's just
Mm-hmm.
anything's possible. But then once it's formed and you have ideas about how you want it to be, and like you want a horn, but like I said, you don't really know what type of horn. It can get complicated because then you hear the horn and you're like, no, that's not the one. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why it's cool if you're working with someone who has the magic and they understand, like they
Right.
can just get into your head almost and hear the same horn that you're hearing, and you don't have to explain what
Right.
type of horn it is. They just know the horn and they know who is going to be the one to play it the way that it needs to be played for that particular song. That's a whole nother thing, choosing the
Right.
actual person who has the feel for the certain song. Because different songs need different feelings.
Mm-hmm.
And they're colors. These other instruments are colors. So they're like, you have the drawing and then the colors come onto the painting or textures, and that
Mm-hmm.
makes the whole piece. It's really cool.
Yeah, you mentioned you were thinking of going to art school. So do you think that kind of visual art um, way of looking at music, is that kind of go hand in hand? S- Is that kind of way your brain's kind of ticking?
Yeah, they're all together. A lot of musicians are also visual artists or some kind of other type of artist.
Right.
Like I do it with everything at this point. One of my life's goals is to make all of my whole entire life creativity. I just want to be in a place where my zen and my enlightened moment is like everything that I did with my life was something of creativity, from growing plants and the way they sit in the window to what I put on my body. I want everything to just be art. The food that I eat, I want it colorful. Like I got a salad in the fridge. It's got kale. It's got all these rainbow peppers. It's got tomatoes. They have like two color tomatoes. What else? It's got avocado, it's got eggs, so I got every color. I just want to have a colorful life and have it all just, I don't want to have like too many rules about what it is with that I do creatively.
Mm-hmm.
Just enjoy playing this instrument and then a little of that one and a little of that one. But I can admire uh, people who are purists and do like are specialty at one thing, like
Right.
um, if you were a doctor or you were I don't know, like my sister-in-law is a nurse practitioner and she is amazing. So we need it all,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I just like to dabble. We were talking about your bass playing. He's a badass bass player, but he's so like humble. He'll just be like, "Yeah, whatever." I'm like, "No, no, no, that was awesome."
That's what bass players do. We are humble. So
Oh yeah.
Jamie's a bass player. If you haven't figured that out.
we gotta be. Someone in the band's gotta be the humble one, right?
Yeah, y'all have to hold it together for everybody else.
Unless you're Jaco Pastorius.
Off doing something crazy.
Unless you're Jaco Pastorius, you're absolutely right.
Oh well, yeah, that's true, Jocko.
Yeah, absolutely. With banjo, heading back into that banjo realm real quick. Is there anybody like that you would call like a traditional banjo player that's inspired you to pick up, or any kind of things that you've taken from any of the other banjo players that you listen to, or is it literally just your own kind of take on how you want it to sound?
Well, it's my take on how I want it to sound, but if I could sound like others, I'd really want to sound, I'd love to sound like Roscoe Hogle. I would
Oh,
love
yeah.
it. Okay, just
Yeah.
like melt my
Mhm.
face off. That's what I want to do. But it's just like I said, I kind of feel like that's maybe not my gift, and you're gifted where you're gifted. And I'm not saying that I can't play the thing, but I play it like that.
Yeah.
Or let's see, I think he's about the one for me. Everything about it, like even his voice, I love his voice. And his humble, like, sense of personality when you watch videos of his performances. And
Yeah.
the name
Mhm.
of the records. Like, who the hell names a record Untamed Sense of Control? It's like, I'm trying to keep it together. But, it's like gospel to me when I listen to his music. So, music's inspiration. And then, like, I guess, I mean, there's a lot of inspiring banjo players, but I think he's the one that I like the sound of. And then I like a lot of African music as well, and I hear so many things in African music that remind me of the banjo, which is where it really came from. So
Right.
I think I lean a lot towards like African kind of sounds,
Right.
just
You
like
can.
or
Mhm.
tribal sounds. I like tribal sounds a lot. So that's the other side that I like a lot.
Yeah, you can really hear that in your music. You hear that blend of kind of like African sounds and then like Western Tennessee, like Memphis sounds, and then kind of Eastern Tennessee or North Carolina sort of sounds, all kind of coming up together. So it's really interesting. Yeah, that's. Um, how do you think you've kind of melded that all together? And is it just people that you've listened to and things you like to come up with your own sort of sound like that?
Well, I think it's like being from Jackson and
Mm-hmm.
Humboldt because it's like the positioning of the town is like so close to Nashville and so
Mm-hmm.
close to the East Tennessee sounds and stuff, but
Mm-hmm.
it's also really close to the Delta
Mm-hmm.
and close to like places where R.L. Burnside or Junior Kimbrough and like Mississippi, John Hurt, who I mentioned before,
Yeah.
or
Mhm.
like Memphis Minnie or Jesse Mayhem feel these people will have like blazed the path, even Robert Johnson and people of that sort. And so, like being from Jackson and having like Tina Turner right down the way and Dolly Parton right down the other
Mm-hmm.
way, like it kind of did my mind like upside
Right.
down when it comes to
Right.
music, where it's like, why not have it all in one song? Why does it have to
Exactly.
be? Why do I have to just choose one way? Like it's all right in here together. So I think when you're a kid and you're growing up and you haven't like you don't know what the different genres of music are. It all just, if you like music and it's a good song, it all can just end up sounding good to you. And
Mm-hmm.
it just ends up going all the songs together and all the genres. And you're just like, I love this. In a world of bliss. And you don't know that it's like, this is blues.
Right.
This
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
country. This is rock and roll. You just know, damn, that's some good stuff, and I feel like dancing.
Right.
So I think that's kind of what it is. And my parents never like forced anything musically on us. My father promoted music, but he knew I liked to listen to all kinds of stuff. So he would just like let us listen to what we want to listen to.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they got kind of mad when I was into the drug music, like I was into stuff like, of course, Bob Marley, and I had this huge poster on my wall of him rolling a joint, and they were mad. They were like, ugh. And then when I got into Hendrix and Janis Joplin and all that whole era, the Doors and all of that, they were like, "Are you on drugs?" And I was like, "No, I don't think so." But
I don't think so.
but the music, I had to go there. I had
Yeah.
to like get into the music, because
Yeah.
that's what I needed to do. I mean, I still need that music. We all do. It's
Yeah.
still with us. And so all of that, and then I feel like studying once I got to Memphis, studying the blues and artists like the ones I've named and even more, Reverend Gary Davis. I mean, the list is huge, and even
Mhm.
to this day I'm discovering more.
Right.
Studying those musicians was my way of connecting with my heritage as a Black woman, because I was never one who was interested in learning about slavery. Like, I wouldn't have read the biography of Frederick Douglass or
Mhm.
W.E.D. Du Bois. I,
Right.
I mean E.B. I have now, but
Right.
I never wanted to learn my history that way. I wanted to learn my history through songs,
Mhm.
through the true, like I told you before, what I consider to be the heart place of humanity.
Mhm.
And I feel like learning it from that perspective keeps me in a soft and light and beautiful, magical place versus learning it the other way around. I feel like I'd be heavy and like oppressed slash depressed. Versus now I'm like, I know I can hear the hope in the songs. I can hear the like love, and I can hear the joy, and I can hear the belief that like all will settle in a very positive light and all will be well. And that progress is and has happened, and we
Mhm.
got a long way to go. But I'm one of the forces going to help us get there. There's a
That's
lot
right.
of us,
Right, right.
So
Keep
that was
moving
kind of
forward,
my,
right?
yeah, that was my way of like connecting with my roots. I guess that's why I wanted to call it roots too, you
Mhm.
know.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's a really good insight as well. I think a lot of people need to take that attitude in general with everything going on as well. If we can kind of look down the road, rather than look back a little bit more, then we'll get to where we want to go, and everybody will get to where we want to go. So that's a really healthy outlook, I think. So dig
Yeah.
it. I dig it. Um, Quick question from Maisa. Maisa writes in every now and again. She's in Brazil,
Huh?
and uh,
I missed the first part.
a girl named Maisa. She writes in. She's on the chat, and she's writing in from Brazil. And she asks, "What is your suggestion for a woman who plays banjo and are trying to conquer their space in music, mainly to improve the skills with the banjo? What would be your outlook for women trying to find their space in music with the banjo?"
Hmm. Do you mean that just in your own, like learning it on your own, or do you mean trying to share your music with, like, to live from your craft and share your music in that way?
I think she means when she says conquering the space, I'm interpreting it as trying to move and make an impact in the world of music. Like, do you see what I mean?
Well, I think right now, living in the day that we live in, like, what I've seen, I'm not really like, I'm such an introverted person. Like, there's so many musicians that I love. I put up this playlist of young, gifted, and Black women in music, and it has so many, like, maybe 100 women that I love the
Uh,
music of. But I'm like, I like to just kind of admire people and to like just kind of like, I really am to myself. Every once in a while, I'll go party before the pandemic, but like, I'm a loner. And so being a loner translates into my social media life too. Like, I had my sister helping me with that because I didn't really want to be online that much. I'd much rather like be playing or watering the plants or dancing or cooking or something. But like with not doing shows and like realizing that, hey, I still need to connect with people because I feel like what I have is medicine and what we have as musicians, like what she's asking is medicine.
yeah.
I started to use the social media platforms. And so I started to use them by like posting a song every few, days or every other week or whatever. And the connection with your audience can be built through social platforms in this day that we live in. When I first started like 15 years ago, nah, I mean, social media, it wasn't there. But you do have that tool now. And you also have the ability to set up your situation however you want it, video yourself playing the song, get it exactly like you want it before you post it. Versus if you're at a live show, you got to just do what you, what you did is
Yeah.
what you
Right.
did.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
like you have the opportunity to record snippets, even if you don't want to do a whole song, just do like 20 seconds and start to build your social presence and share your gift. And you never know whose day that's going to turn around.
Mm-hmm.
You
That's
never
it.
know who you're going to like lift up or inspire to go play their instrument, which in turn lifted other people around them. And I think it's just like domino effect. Positivity can be this way. It really can.
Yep.
Music can be this way. And it's just what are we focusing on? We're called like every day, all day, like bombarded with all of the wrong and all of the negativity. But how do we move towards a better way? Only way is by sharing and uplifting those that are around us. And so I think that that's kind of a way you can share your gift. And when you start doing that, you'll be surprised at how many people begin to reach out to you, and you just expand your fan base that way. When I started, what I did was I posted up flyers all over Memphis, and I'd be up at midnight going around
Mm-hmm. With a
printing up
staple gun.
flyers, staple gunning them up and stuff. I did it late at night after I got off from the jobs because I just, had a show coming up, and I'd like get an email list together and email people and say, hey, come to my gig, come to my gig.
Mm-hmm.
But this is the way you can do it now. And you don't even have to leave your house. You're lucky.
There was always something pretty fun about plastering flyers of places, right? And handing out stuff to your
Right.
shows
Right.
and standing outside of venues, any audience that might just take one in the hope that one of those people might show up to your show.
Oh,
The
yeah.
Kinko printing them off.
Oh, yeah. Kinko's, FedEx. And then they started like advertising these flyer companies where you get like 1,000 flyers for $100.
Right.
Mhm.
I did it.
Yeah.
I'd be like, here.
Guilty as well. I did that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You gotta self promote.
You gotta. You
Promotion
gotta.
is kind of a lot of it, honestly. Even if you wanted to do Instagram Live or YouTube Live, you could say, hey, on Friday, I'm going to go live. So y'all check it out. And slowly, hopefully, you'll develop a following.
Absolutely. Absolutely. David.
Yeah. We get you get so much emotion and through your music, and it's really palpable. How important do you think is for a musician or an artist of any kind be able to really express that emotion?
It's really super important. Like, I suppose that really, more than anything, what music does for me is help me with managing emotions because I'm a very emotional person. Like, I cried so many times today. Like, just things would happen and I would just cry. Like, I'd think about something, like
Mm-hmm.
remembering my friend who gave me the uke when I took it out because she's no longer with me. They kind of made me tear up a little bit. Or like I read something that my poet friend Jacqueline Suskin wrote about uh, the lives of Jacob Blake and Breonna Taylor, and that made me cry. Like, so I feel so much. I'm a feeling person. And then 5 seconds later, I'm laughing because something made me laugh. Like, I feel so much. I'm emotional. Like, you know, I don't want to have that under control. The way I control it is by playing music. And I feel like that's a healthy way to deal with the emotions because um, I was listening to a talk of a lady named Brene Brown, and she was talking about people being numb and needing like falling into addiction or different things because they need to numb out, or watching shows, too many shows, numbing out. And I just feel like I like, feeling what I'm feeling. And I even wrote a poem about it. It's called Ode to Fucking Feeling, because I need to feel what I'm feeling, you know? And I think that part of the things that we're dealing with is like people not knowing how to feel what they're feeling and how to like deal with those feelings within their own life, not projecting it on anyone else, just sitting with it, being in the sadness, being in the happiness, being in the madness, being in whatever it is that you feel. And music is a way that you can sit in those feelings and just like yeah, you can get that out. You just get it out, in a healthy and productive way. And I think dance is another way that can happen. Like, I dance every day.
Wow.
Even if it's just for 2 songs, and I do it because like I have these emotions and I have these feelings and I need to like work it out, and I just like put the music on and I let my body move, and when I'm finished with the dancing I'm like, whew, yeah, I'm so glad I did that. I feel so much better now.
Right.
That energy
You
wants
have
to
to be
move somewhere.
responsible for shifting the energy
Right.
that comes at you all day. Now, if stuff wasn't coming at us all day, then I wouldn't recommend this. But things are coming at us all day. We are not aware of the trauma that we go through living on Earth at this time.
Right. No, you're absolutely right, and that's kind of almost opposite the bad side of what you're talking about with social media. While it can be an amazing platform, now there's a whole lot of stuff on there that can contribute to that. The endless news, all of this stuff, you find yourself just wanting to put things down. And I mean, as a musician, and I know David's the same way, and it sounds very much like you are, putting that stuff to one side and then just picking up an instrument, even if it's for like a half hour, just it's like the ultimate stress ball, and it kind of brings everything back into perspective, and then some.
It's so good. Yeah, you're right about that with social media. You do have to balance it,
Gotta balance it. Yeah.
Don't let it overtake you.
It can do that quite easily, I tell you that. I think that your outlook is so just positive, and I think you're able to harness, like you said, your emotions, be it kind of strong positive emotions or otherwise, but harness it towards the music. And it's what everybody needs to be doing if they can. I think it's really, really important during this bizarre time. It's also a lot of stuff that's hitting us at once this year, it seems like. So it's yeah, I really appreciate that outlook. I think that's really fantastic. So
Well, I do wonder. I wonder, you know, we had the whole pause where it was like not working so much. And, if life got lighter, say, bills weren't expensive and things weren't as expensive, and you actually could spend more time at home with your family and stuff.
right.
Like, how cool, if life was lighter and it was just gentler, on all of us, all over the globe, just gentler, just a little bit nicer to us, then I just wonder, like, the creativity that would be beaming from each person from in their own little circle, and like all of the art that would be like happening in people's families and sharing and things. And I think that's more what life should look like, because I think everyone has an artist bone in them. If it's singing or playing or something, they just need some time with it. Because I'll tell you, when I first decided music was not like the only thing that was easy about music for me was singing, because I was a cheerleader and they said, you ain't got no rhythm. They called me white girl, and they said, no, the white girls call me white girl. And they were like, girl, you need to get some rhythm. And so I started to play music, and I said, well, I think that if I learn how to play an instrument, then that'll teach me rhythm. And I want to do the thing that challenges me the most in life. So I started to just like teach myself some rhythm. And even now I'm challenged with rhythm, but I love facing the challenge, you know.
Mhm.
So if we did have more time at home, more time with our families, more time to just be creative, then maybe some of these things that we're like, oh, I really like that and wonder if I could do it, we would do it, you know. Just give it a try, you know.
Right. Time is a thing, right? There's not as much of it as we think there is. And yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Absolutely right.
It is. I might turn on a light here and maybe play a song if you want.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm not sure
Great.
how you're off of time. It'd be a good time for a song and see where we go. Where's
Yeah.
the light? It got very dark there all of a sudden.
Yeah, it's starting to set the sun. Let's see. I need
There
a
you
better
go.
light than that. 1 second.
That's better. Okay, Valerie's coming right back. She's getting the lights on. So just a reminder to everybody, thanks again for tuning in. If you have any questions, throw it down in the chat, and then we will ask Valerie. But it's been a lot of fun talking to her. Dave, how you doing?
Great, great. Yeah.
We're just admiring your record collection in the back as well there, Valerie.
Oh yeah, there's a load of records, like so much to listen to, and then I have a lot of books too, but I have to end up getting rid of them after I read them unless it's something that I absolutely have to use for reference. I have to get rid of it because there's not enough room in the house. Records are more important.
Mhm.
I can always buy the book again, but the records, some of them you can't get again, you know,
That's absolutely right.
in the same condition and all of the above.
All right, what are you going to play for us?
I will play a song called Drink Up and Go Home. It's one of my favorite songs these days. So I
All
figured
right.
I would do that one. Here's something. That's just being in the city. Can you hear this okay?
Sounds
Yeah,
good.
sounds good.
You sit there crying along with your beer. You say you got trouble. My friend, listen here. But don't tell me your trouble. Got enough of my own. Be thankful you're living. Drink up and go home. I'm fresh out of prison. 6 years in the pen. Lost my wife and family. No one to call friend. But don't tell me your trouble. Got enough of my own. Be thankful you're living. Drink up and go home. There sits a blind man, so blind he can't see. Oh, do you think he's complaining? Why should you warn me? But don't tell me your trouble, fool. Got enough of my own. Be thankful you're living. Drink up and go home. Be thankful you're living. Drink up and go home. Be thankful you're living. Drink up and go home.
Oh yeah.
Beautiful.
The favorite.
Absolutely beautiful.
You.
So, Valerie, before we kind of start to wrap up a little bit, what's next for you? I mean, obviously the COVID situation has maybe hindered any plans of big tours anytime soon, but can we expect to see a new record on the horizon? Can we expect to see you out doing any kind of smaller socially distanced shows anytime soon?
I think I will do some smaller socially distanced performances, and I'll share a little bit more online, I think. Um, as I was suggesting, I'll share a little bit more myself because I haven't really done any songs online for a few months. So I
Yeah.
need to follow my own advice and share. And so I'll do that. And, you know, I'm always recording songs and writing songs. So we'll see if I end up releasing some more songs at some point. But I haven't released anything since the Order of Time as far as a full record, but I do release songs every few months.
Right.
Last year I did a cover of Little Wing, and then
Nice.
a cover of Cosmic Dancer, and the cover Let It Snow. And so I like doing stuff like that in the meantime.
Yeah.
It takes me so long to make a record.
Mm-hmm.
So,
That's
yeah.
awesome. And where can people find you online if they want to? You're on. I know you're on Instagram because I follow you, but you're on Facebook and all that kind of stuff. And
I'm
tell
on
tell the world.
I have a Facebook, and that's Valerie June on Facebook, and then I have Instagram, which is the Valerie June, and Twitter is the Valerie June, and I have a website. It's just valeriejune.com. So I'm around, and besides being an introvert, I'm around. Every once in a while, I'll answer messages or respond to comments, but usually I'll end up spending the day in the garden, which produces a lot of sweat but joy too.
We were talking about that the other day, right? Your garden back in Tennessee. That sounds amazing.
Oh God,
Yeah.
it's great.
Yeah.
And here we have a beautiful garden as well. Matt has been the one who's been taking care of that because I've been in Tennessee. I basically was there from March until now because of the COVID. So it's a lot.
Yep.
know, I'm not used to it. It was rather a transition to be in one place.
Yeah.
I know I'm talking a lot, but I really don't talk to very many people, so I'm getting it all out for the month.
The Daring Live audience is kind of your soundboard at this point, so it's totally fine.
Thank you, Deering.
Absolutely, it's a pleasure. Is there any final thoughts, any parting words that you want to share with the banjo world?
Banjo World. Final thoughts.
Yeah, make it a good one. Make it poignant and no pressure or anything.
No, I don't think so. I mean, I'm happy to be back with this one. I have the Dear and Good Time one that I have at my Tennessee house, and in the closet it's there. So every time I go, I can get it out and play it, which is what I was so happy to have with me because I wouldn't have had one with me during the quarantine because I didn't go down there I just went down there for a friend's birthday party and basically, stayed like longer than I thought I would. Usually when I'm there, I'm
Wow.
there for like a week or 2 weeks, a month, but not like months and months at a time. So I'm not anywhere for months and months at a time. This one stays here. And this one, when I got here, it was covered in dust. And the one that I play all the time is at my rehearsal space. And so it, has been in a case and it's probably very angry because I haven't been to the rehearsal place. But usually, like, I'll be playing one, like all of them over the course of 3 months. I play each one when I'm where they are.
Yeah.
Except for the one that I take on the road, which is the one that I play all the time. But that's the one that's the most mad and upset at me now. What you will learn, this is my banjo advice. It's the same with any instrument and with all things. We must remember that all things are living and that they, plants will teach you this, that they have spirits and that they have like personality of sorts, you know,
Mhm.
and that they must be respected, instruments included. They have attitudes. This one is super loud and crazy. The deer is so gentle for me, like you know, because I was just starting. So it's a soft, more like, okay, kind of timid energy. And the one I take on the road is like, sure, you can just bang me around and throw me, and I don't care. I just like being on the road and having fun. So let the instruments kind of tell you what to do and what kind of instruments they are and like what their personality is, and let them lead you.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I like that. That's a good
Rusty.
approach. All right. Well, we're gonna wrap it up. Hour and 15. Nice job.
Yeah.
David,
All right,
any final parting words?
Just
Before
thanks for
losing?
doing this. Thanks for coming on, and thanks for your music has lifted I know myself up many times. So thank you. Thanks for your music and everything.
thank you. I loved hearing you play the other day too. So I really appreciate that. It's inspiring for me.
It's really cool. It was a real pleasure having and speaking to you, and putting a real face and personality to the amazing music that you're putting out. So thank you for that and everything you're doing. Quick one from Scott on the chat. He says, "This is the greatest. Work was rough today, but now everything is love." Thank you so much for this. So if you're talking about people that you kind of touch and inspire, you've got at least one in the chat right now saying thank you. So thank you, Valerie. Appreciate your time today, and
Thank
we'll
you,
see you
guys.
next time. Thank you to everybody for watching today. It was a lot of fun. We are back next Thursday. Check out the different time. It is a earlier one where we will have Dan Walsh. Dan Walsh is in the UK, so we are going to do it a little earlier in the time, and we'll announce that next week. But once more, Valerie, thank you so much. Real pleasure.
Thanks, guys. Have a great day or
You
night
too.
now.
Night, you too.
Take
Stay
care.
safe.
Adios.
Bye.
Bye.